Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to now talk about physical media versus digital media. We've been talking about this for a little bit on the channel prior, and we had a discussion on Saturday Night Hypnosis one time with Lofty, where we had an open discussion about owning physical media versus what they're trying to do, which is trying to make everything digital. That way they can control the games a lot better and have control on whether or not you're actually able to purchase the game, play the game, or whatever the case may be. Now you have another example of what happens when you just go way too far and digital media is prioritized over physical copies, and even those who got physical copies ended up getting screwed as well. We have a headline here from Phantom Pulse that reads, Ubisoft reported to revoke Open World Racer The Crew from owners' libraries.
That's my purse! I don't know you!
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Ubisoft is actually removing The Crew from your library, even if you purchase the game. This is how far they are willing to go under certain circumstances. And this is why I'm a big proponent of physical media. But here's the problem, ladies and gentlemen. Even if you have the actual disc for The Crew, it doesn't matter. The game is still unplayable. And that is where the problem lies. So let's get into this article, guys, from Phantom Pulse. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. So again, guys, we have this discussion a lot, and you know, it goes back to the days of like Nintendo, Dreamcast, and all these games where you got complete experiences from day one. Us as gamers, we are the reason why this DLC nonsense has even become a thing in the first place, and online only has become a thing. They try to make it seem as if, oh, they're trying to combat piracy, but let's be real, it's never about that. That is but a small fraction of their overall goal when it comes to their control over their games. Now, they don't want to just sell you something that you could pick up once and be able to play forever, because that's not profitable in the long term. They have become so greedy that they're trying to figure out ways to not only stop you from being able to do that, but also resell you the same game later down the line. I would not be shocked if The Crew comes back in some way, shape, or form, or maybe gets a sequel or something along those lines, but I'm sure they're going to try to find a way to monetize it in the future. But ultimately what they did was they took your money and they ran with it. That's what they did. You don't even have a product to show for what you paid for, and that's the biggest problem when it comes to digital media only. And listen, I am a big proponent of digital media. I do support it in the aspect of, I obviously have a massive Steam library. I have almost 20 years in Steam. That's how far back that it goes for me personally. And listen, I understand that when I buy these games, I'm buying the digital version, but there has to be a discussion about trust in the company. Nobody has trust in Ubisoft. Nobody, okay? A lot of people have trust in Steam, and rightfully so, but nobody has trust in Ubisoft. And when they do shit like this, it just makes the conversation not in their favor. So it says, Ubisoft's recent actions regarding Open World Racer The Crew have sparked widespread outrage and ignited a heated debate surrounding digital ownership, player rights, and the future of game preservation. The unfolding saga began with Ubisoft's announcement of Open World Racer The Crew's server shutdown, a decision that left many fans disheartened as they faced the looming demise of a beloved game. The Crew, Ubisoft's Open World Racer, had captured the hearts of players with the expansive map, diverse gameplay, and thrilling multiplayer experience. However, the game's online nature meant that its fate was tied to its existence of its servers. When Ubisoft announced that the closure of the Crew's servers scheduled for March 31st, 2024, it marked the end of an era for many dedicated fans. Now, I didn't realize that The Crew had this many people playing it. I mean, I don't know what their numbers were like. I don't know if this article even mentions it. I can't imagine it's anything crazy, because let's be real, if it was, Ubisoft wouldn't have shut down the servers, right? So these numbers couldn't have been that great. They probably had a super dedicated small fan base, but it wasn't enough to support servers in the long term. And this is why the online-only aspect is so annoying to me. This is why when I picked up Diablo 4 and Diablo 3 and I saw that it had to be online only, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Because what's going to end up happening is, yes, Blizzard will support these games for a long time. That I understand. But other games like it that are going to see Diablo and they're going to realize, oh, maybe we could do this too. And they're not going to have the same level of success as Diablo did. They're going to end up shutting down. And then the player is going to end up getting screwed over and losing whatever they just paid for. It says the repercussions of this decision became even more apparent when reports emerged of Ubisoft revoking the open-world racer game from owners' libraries and invalidating their user licenses. This move effectively barred players from accessing a game that they had purchased, further fueling frustration and anger within the community. The message displayed to affect players, urging them to explore other adventures, seemed to add insult to injury, exacerbating feelings of betrayal and disappointment. That's insane. That is insane. Imagine them flat out telling you, hey, you no longer have access to the game. Why don't you go buy other stuff from our store that we're going to eventually take from you in the future anyway? Can you imagine the utter, the balls that a company has to have to steal a game from you and then tell you, hey, go buy our other stuff without knowing whether or not we're going to steal that from you too? This is such a ridiculous thing, man. Look at this message. I would have just flipped the table at that point. I would have honestly did. It says the response from players was swift and vocal, which it should have been, rightfully so, with many expressing their outrage on social media platforms and gaming forums. Comments range from condemning Ubisoft's actions as abhorrent and ruthless to questioning the legality and ethics of revoking purchased licenses. The sentiment was clear. Players felt betrayed by a publisher they had trusted, and they demanded accountability and transparency. Well, two things, okay? Number one, don't trust Ubisoft. That's probably the worst thing you could do. And number two, you're asking for accountability and transparency from a company or companies like this that refuse to do either or. They're never going to do that. They do everything they can possible to not be transparent. You even have shills like Alyssa Mercante admitting that the gaming industry likes working in the shadows. So you're never going to get accountability. You're never going to get transparency unless a massive lawsuit happens. And that's the only way you're going to get both of those things. It says one of the key issues at the heart of this controversy is the concept of digital ownership. Unlike physical copies of the games, which players can hold in their hands and access at any time, digital purchases are subject to the whims of publishers and platform holders. The closure of servers and the revocation of licenses highlight the precarious nature of digital ownership, where access to purchased content can be arbitrarily revoked, leaving players with little recourse. Now, yes, you can have the disc version of The Crew. That's great, right? But the problem is it's an online-only game, right? So you're not going to be able to do anything with the game anyway. So if you have the disc copy, what are you going to do? Just keep it in your collection? That's basically all you can do. The game is dead. It is completely dead. It is vaporware at this point. It might as well not even exist in your lineup. The game is completely freaking dead. And it's sad, man. It really is sad that they're willing to do this, and the companies are never going to be held accountable. The situation also raises questions about consumer rights and protections in the digital age. Should players have the right to access and play games they have purchased even after servers are shut down? Should publishers be held accountable for maintaining access to purchased content, or are they within their rights to discontinue support for older games? I do think that there has to be some sort of change here. There has to be a change. I don't know the answers. I don't have the answers, but there has to be a change to match what's happening in the current modern era, right? Like what we have now is based in many years ago, where physical copies were king, or like buying games meant that you actually owned the game. Nobody has ever actually brought the question or brought up the topic because they don't want to mess with their money, right? They don't want to have to do one of these two things, whether providing servers forever or actually trying to refund people whenever a game gets closed down. They don't want to do either of those things. So they're trying to make sure the conversation doesn't get brought up because they don't want things to change, because the way things are right now, they can operate within a gray area that allows them to do all this nonsense and not be held accountable. We need to absolutely make sure that the conversation is brought up and brought up often, because when companies like Ubisoft do this garbage, they are doing it because they are inherently anti-consumer. We already know that based off how they act, but we need to hold them even more accountable than we already are. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.